Welcome to the Real Estate and Small Business for Management Consultant Show. Whether you hold a corporate 9-to-5 or have determined that you want to explore the small business realm, this show is for you. Christian Carrillo talks to entrepreneurs and experts in the real estate and small business realms to discover what they do, why they do it, and how they do it to help show you the art of the possible. And now your host, Christian Carrillo.
Welcome back to the Real Estate and Small Business Show. I am your host, Christian Carrillo. This is the show where we talk to entrepreneurs and real estate investors about what they do, how they do it, and why they do it to show you the art of the possible. Today, we've got a special interview for you folks. Today, we've got my dear friend, Mylan Henderson with us. Mylan, thanks for being on the show, my man.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Super happy to have you on.
Yes, sir.
So Mylan is the co-founder of Certo Music, a music startup that connects independent artists and musicians to talented creatives such as music producers, videographers, photographers, audio engineers, music marketing and branding experts, graphic designers, and much more. Super exciting stuff. So Certo also exposes independent artists to new fans they wouldn't otherwise be able to reach, thereby creating a music ecosystem for artists, creatives, and fans. They are, I think, truly revolutionizing the music industry, and we'll definitely dive into that. But seeing the experiences of friends who make music, as well as other independent artists, Mylan saw a glaring need for such a music ecosystem. There are plenty of talented artists across the country and the world, but talent alone is not nearly the deciding factor for success in music. Certo Music aims to change that. Again, Mylan, thank you so much for hopping on the show. We're super excited to have you on. Yep. We talked a little bit about your background there, who you are, what you're doing. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and where your superpowers lie?
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Christian. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, as you mentioned, like I grew up in a pretty musical family. My grandpa was in a band with two of his brothers, a jazz band actually. So I always grew up around music. My aunt's a gospel and jazz singer. My grandmother was, played organ in church. So I've always grown up around music. And I've been dabbled from time to time in music, making music with some of my friends as well. So I went to Northwestern University for undergrad, where I got a bachelor's in social policy, and then moved on to Wake Forest University School of Business to get a master's in management. And from there, ended up working with Christian at Deloitte, actually. And so these, like my educational pursuits, along with this, my history of family history of music and experience with friends, has really given me a unique lens on the music world. And really seeing like my friends, who are pursuing music for a career, seeing their struggles with, trying to promote their music, grow a fan base, and build a team around them beyond just making the musical product, has really shown me the gaps that really exist in the music world and in the marketplace. And which really prompted me, along with my co-founders, to found Certo Music, to create a music ecosystem for supporting independent artists, connecting them with the players that they need to be successful beyond just making a song or an album, as well as exposing them to new fans to organically grow a fan base and really connect with fans on a personal level.
Awesome. I love that. So help me understand this a little bit. I think maybe some of our listeners may not understand the overall music ecosystem as well. So if I'm an artist and I want to make it big, how does that typically work in the industry currently?
Yeah. I mean, currently it's a lot about luck. There's obviously a lot of hard work that goes into, consistently putting out music, making songs and records that make people feel connected to you and like feel a certain type of way. But beyond, once the music is out there, it's really, really hard to gain a fan base, to actually have people listen to it, to be able to evoke the feelings the artist wants their fans and listeners to feel. And so, with the rise of social media and the internet nowadays, it's easier, a little bit easier for people from no matter where you are, to reach a wider audience. But again, it's kind of like throwing your product into the ether, throwing it into just, a vacuum, and hoping that, the right people hear it, the right people catch on to it, and the right people enjoy what you're putting out there. So yeah, talent really is not the main deciding factor for success. And so Certo is aiming to make talent more of at the forefront of the equation for success for artists by really giving them, exposing them to the people, the players, the tools for success, and harnessing the power of, the entire, there are talented creatives out there as well as talented artists. So really connecting them and helping them to create magic and create success.
Whenever I think about the music industry, and we can definitely dive into this since you're well versed in it, I think about social capital a lot, right? And how maybe it's very important to have certain connections, right? Where they sort of open the door for you and let you take that first peek or the first step in.
Right. No, I mean, yeah, you hit it right on the head. Like, honestly, a lot of, everybody hears these stories of artists who are like, yeah, like I got my big break. Like I ended up meeting, this other artist, or like I knew an artist from like my town who like, introduced me to such and such was from this label or that label, or like got me to open for them at this show and like showed me to this manager. All that. So really social capital is, a huge part of success in the music world. And so we're trying to, to that end, harness the collective social capital of really, the entire country and then the entire world, create this ecosystem and community to build artists up and, be able to build up connections and capital in that way, which really doesn't exist in its, in the current state of the music world.
I love that. I love that. And I remember the first couple of times I sort of heard what you were working on, I thought to myself, this young man, his company is going to do what Uber did to the taxi industry, right? So could you help us understand a little bit about the current music paradigm? So like maybe how like music producers come into play, or where you see the problem currently with artists? Because I know, like, as an example, Chance the Rapper, he's a very big proponent of sort of the model that you're trying to establish, right?
Yeah, of independence for sure. So I mean, currently, just speaking of my experiences and, seeing my friends and other independent artists, it's really, you can find like, beats on YouTube, you can find friends that are producers, whatever, trying to connect people on Instagram, which is a really good tool, currently. But it's really, it's really hard beyond, just kind of throwing out DMs to random folks, trying to just really just push your product into like almost a void, a vacuum, where people exist, but they don't really feel like they don't like know you, know your story, know why you're making your music, and things like that. And so we're really aiming to attack that void, and really create a space where artists can like genuinely connect with fans and also generally connect with these other talented creatives like producers, videographers, photographers, and really everything that goes into building up an artist's brand, their, building up their music, their brand, themselves, and promoting success in that way.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about you growing your company, right?
Yeah.
So as you started to grow this company, you've got 2 additional partners, and I presume a lot of you maybe work corporate jobs. So what is that sort of balance like for you, right? I think about folks always say, I would do X if only I had more time, if only I had more money, if only I had the proper connections. And I think there's like a need for a paradigm shift there, right? Versus saying, I can't do something, and then asking yourself, how can I do something, right? And people sleep 8 hours a day typically, right? It's a third of your life. How are you navigating this? How did you navigate it in the past?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And it's funny because actually, we officially launched our first phase for Certo in late February, so just like less than 2 months ago. So so it's been, since then it's been like an exciting ride. But honestly, like with one of my co-founders, we started talking about this idea back in like late summer or fall of 2020. And it's taken, a year and a half of, trying to, analyze the market, talking with artists, talking with creatives, and seeing, the need, and understanding the true need, for what, our vision is and what we're trying to create. And so that, of course, took, long hours outside of, my 9 to 5 and all of our 9 to 5s. But really just when you're passionate about something and really believe in the vision of what you're trying to create and see the need and how it can help people all across the country, all around the world, I don't even view it as work per se. I'm willing to, wake up early, woke up today, 5 o'clock, went to the gym, worked on Certo a little bit, and now I'm here. Willing to wake up early, stay up late, even, weekends working, um, any time that I can find outside of my 9 to 5, I really like to dedicate to what I believe in, and share those what I believe in. So it hasn't been hard to find the time. It hasn't been hard to be motivated. But it's definitely a commitment, and definitely something that you gotta plan for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's I let you mention a couple of things that I love there, right? Where it's you talk about making the time. And I think that's so important, especially as you think about the long term of a project or a company.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have a lot of mentors that say entrepreneurship is like running through brick walls for years.
Yeah.
Right. And you talked a little bit about the initial phase of Certo Music. You get to phase 2, phase 3, and along the route, you'll hit speed bumps, right? You'll hit brick walls, and it's all about iteration and pivoting and whatnot. But with that in mind, as you think about your company and where it currently stands, where it's headed, how important have, let's say, partnerships been in the development of your company, or say social media, or close friends that you may have, and sort of helping spread the word of your company?
Yeah. No, I mean, at this point, starting out, we're relying a lot on, old school word of mouth, promotion, communication. So I mean, obviously, like my close friends have like been instrumental just in sharing, our vision, and our work with their friends, anybody that they know in the music world, music realm. But then even beyond that, just connections that I've, made kind of out of happenstance, just like being out, just like talking to people, at like a concert, or like at a music festival. And just like really, picking their brains as well about like what, things that they've noticed in the music world, and what, frustrations that they might have. And really just taking that into account, building up on that. And then also, just staying in touch, staying in touch with them, and building those relationships has been, key to our initial success and initial growth. And I mean, as we're moving forward, I mean, I can only imagine, partnerships with, artists, partnerships with like even, bigger creatives out there, can only like lend more credence to what we're building and what we're trying to do. And so looking forward to that, that evolution of our, promotion and marketing for ourselves, in a sense. So
I love that. I love that. And to sort of hit on a point that we talked a little bit about earlier and that you mentioned, I liked how you sort of talked about how it's taken a year and a half to get to where you are today, and how throughout the process you kind of tested the market, right?
Yeah.
And in real estate, I have a lot of mentors, as an example, Jerome Maldonado or Ty Lopez, that they whenever they pursue a new endeavor, they test the market first, right?
Yeah.
Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. right. I like that.
And I think that that's an ingenious way to operate, right? Because you could have spent all this time up front setting up the infrastructure, but you all focus on the need. You saw the gap in the market and you executed. Right. What was that process like for you all?
No, that's another great question. Yeah, like I typically, when I'm kind of really more like a visionary, leader. So I, even right now, like my mind is like just in the background racing like 1,000 miles an hour of like, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. What will Certo look like then? And so I really had to like learn to, slow myself down in terms of, okay, we can like spend all this time, money, resources, whatever, trying to build a grand, grand, what I think is a perfect ecosystem right away, or we can continue to listen as we're talking to artists, creatives, fans. We can like listen along the way and kind of get into the market earlier, and address, one of the first two or first three big main needs, and start out kind of scrappy. Like, honestly, um, right now we do a lot of our communication with our artists and creatives and fans via email. We we send our communication via email. We have our Instagram page, of course, but we don't have an app or anything yet. That's down phase 2 for us. But really like iterating, starting off, taking things in kind of bite-sized chunks, to really see like how can we get into the market, how can we address needs early on, and also take into account feedback from our users, from from others on what we're doing, and take that into account as we're building out our grand plan and vision. So really the iterative approach, and it's not like starting and stopping, it's more stepping stones, building blocks to get where we really want to be, and make sure that we can still offer something useful to our users at each step of the way.
I love that. I love that. And I think you hit the nail on the head on something that I think about a lot, right? And one of my mentors, Umair, the Honey Badger Hawk, he was a professional UFC fighter. Now he's a big real estate investor, and he always tells me, Christian, stop being busy, right? You're being busy to be busy. And you talk about just taking that first step, right? And then iterating as you go, right? Because sometimes I think that first step is the hardest.
For sure.
Right? Like, how do I incorporate? How do I design this? Should I be doing X, Y, or Z?
Yeah. And no, I mean, honestly, like I built the website. I was like, I never built a website before. How am I gonna YouTube University? Just Google but yeah, like the first step is definitely the most daunting. The most nerve-wracking. You're wondering like, okay, is this thing perfect? Is this, people are going to really understand like my vision from this initial step? And that was kind of scary, honestly, because, as we'll see in years down the road, there's a lot more in store for Certo than we have right now. But yeah, just getting out there was really important. And then being able to actually be responsive to the folks that we're trying to serve is, I think, really a big key of our success so far, and what will really, keep us successful as we're moving forward.
I love that. I love that. And Mylan, it truly has been a pleasure getting to know more about you. And I'm so excited to see what you all are going to do. And I joke about this all the time. If you need some capital, you let me know. I'm looking for equity. But I really hope that our listeners really take these golden nuggets to heart, right? And realize that a lot of times in any new endeavor that you pursue, of course, it's gonna be scary, right? You may not know what to do, but are there others out there, they've done what you're trying to do or something similar? Right? So success leaves clues. Find the successful and get after it, right? Chase your dreams, run through brick walls. You're gonna fail, but it's gonna be a learning lesson, so fail forward. Again, Mylan, it's truly been a pleasure. Are you ready for our quick response round?
I have no choice but to be ready, I guess.
I love it. So first one here today. If you lost it all today, what would you do?
I mean, shoot. First thing for me, I would start praying. And then, I mean, honestly, like I'm really, I've had my fair share of, setbacks, professionally, work-wise, charity-wise, personally. But really just, take a step back, go back home or something with my family and stuff. And then just, start thinking about ways to pivot. What can I do now that I have, nothing to lose? What else can I do? What else can I try? Based upon, what has led me to this point. And lessons learned from there. So
I love that. I love that. That nothing to lose attitude. It makes you dangerous.
Yeah.
It makes you dangerous.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Going forward, what do you have planned for Certo Music and why?
Yep. So moving forward, we've got our second phase of Certo coming soon. And I'm not gonna give away too many details about that. We're trying to keep things, surprises. But phase 2 is definitely, going to be incorporating more of building more technology, more of like an app-based platform for connection, instead of, having our email-based current system. But then really, rethinking the way that fans can support artists, and rethinking the ways that artists can, make a living off of their work, without sacrificing, the rights to their music and things that record labels typically require that an artist sacrifice in order to get the things that the record label offers, like promotion, connections to, the studios, music, producers, videographers, all that stuff. Trying to rethink the paradigm of, how we can offer the similar type of resources to artists without having artists sacrifice everything they sacrifice currently in the record label system.
I love that. I love that. If you could give our listeners one piece of advice today, what would it be?
Shoot. I mean, probably, if you're thinking about starting, a business, a company, you've got an idea, really, the iterative approach that I've had to learn, taking the first step, having, stepping stones along the way as you're working towards your end vision, your end goal, I think it's like a really powerful and really good way to go about, starting out and making your idea into reality. So
yeah,
I would say that iterative approach.
Absolutely. I love that. Last one here for you. How can our listeners get to know more about you and connect with you?
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, first of all, so me personally, my Instagram is at my.lan_. But definitely follow our Certo Music Instagram page at certo.music. And then from there, we have our links to sign up as either artists, creatives, or fans. Our ecosystem is inclusive. Everybody likes some type of music. Or if you don't make music or you don't, are involved in the music industry in another way, you can definitely be involved with Certo. And we love to always, hear from our users. So definitely follow us on Instagram, join our community. We're also on TikTok as well at certo.music. Started that up. So that's been kind of interesting. But yeah, that's how you can get in contact with us.
I love it. I love it. Again, Mylan, thank you so much for hopping on the show. We're super excited to see what you're going to be able to accomplish. We know you're going to be a disruptor in the industry, and we look forward to your success. We'll chat soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate and Small Business for Management Consultants Show, brought to you by Quetzal Capital Group. Quetzal Capital Group works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate while also looking to add value in the communities where they operate. Quetzal Capital Group. Client-centered, data-driven, result-oriented. Connect with us online at quetzalcapitalgroup.com to learn more.